Okay. Well, welcome. Welcome, everybody. It's March 26th. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am here to read the next two chapters in our book, Revolutionary Hillbilly, which allow us to read about the journey of our brother Hyde Thurman adventure towards becoming a revolutionary comrade in the movement and all the social issues that he had to face. And we at the point where we're going to read about the splits and new reality of the organization, which consists of a number of pages. And also I'm going to conclude the chapters that we will read, which is the end of the Young Patriarch. So I welcome Felix, Nikki, Rod, and Stone. How are y'all doing today?
Pretty good.
Oh, okay, good. So I'm glad that you had joined us. And I'm going to start off by reading the Statement of Unity for the Second Rainbow Coalition, starting from the prefix. The U.S. was found as a colony settler state based upon white supremacy and slavery, stealing the lands of the indigenous nation, breaking every treaty made with them, and confining them in reservation concentration camps. As the country became more powerful, the eagle sunk its claws into our nation, making war on Mexico and grabbing its northern territory, including Cuba, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and the Philippines, and other annexing them outright or making them colonies or neo-colonies. And in the 20th century, it became the major imperialist power in the world, exploiting both the people within its boundary and those in every other country, bullying them with military intervention and robbing them of their rights to self-determination. As Huey P. Newton said, quote, "We have two enemies to fight. We have racism and capitalism," end of quote. Between the two, capitalism is primary, racism is a byproduct of capitalism. The working people of the world of every ethnicity or nationality face a common enemy that is destroying life on earth. Our enemy is a small ruling class of property owners controlling most of the world's wealth and resources. We must have our basic needs met to live a good and meaningful life: food, shelter, healthcare, education, freedom from oppression by the state, and peace with other nations. To obtain these essential things for life, we must have the power to see to it that the abundance that is available is shared equitably. So the Statement of Unity of the Second Rainbow Coalition, the second part reads that the legacy of the first Rainbow Coalition dates back to its founding on April 4th, 1969, by the original Black Panther Party, original Young Lords, and Young Patriot Organization. A number of other organizations joined the coalition not too long afterwards, such as the American Indian Movement, Brown Berets, Rising Up Angry, the Red Guards, and others. Since the founding of the United States, the masses have developed a number of popular movements that came together to fight back against this capitalist imperialist system in various ways around particular demands. Nevertheless, none had established a movement quite like the first Rainbow Coalition. This historic movement was the first of its kind that established a model of class struggle like no other. Its charismatic leader, Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois chapter of the original Black Panther Party, stated, "At the end of the day, we weren't engaged in a race struggle." He said that it was a class struggle, God damn it. By uniting with the various oppressed ethnicities and masses, they were able to bridge the gap between the various ethnic communities that white supremacy had long sought to keep divided. The class solidarity equipped them with the material basis and class conscious to see the common class condition. Therefore, the necessity to form a united front against a common class oppressor, the capitalist, imperialist ruling class, the ruling class viewed this as the greatest threat to their class rule and subsequently used the entire repressive forces of the state, such as the police, courts, jail, prisons, and intelligence agency, etc., in order to crush this emerging revolutionary socialist movement. We refound the Rainbow Coalition on May 14, 2021, with the intent of upholding the legacy of the original Rainbow Coalition. We believe that this historic example is the model for the united front that will best serve our class liberation. By upholding the 10-point program of the original Black Panther Party, which was subsequently adopted and later expanded by the original Young Laws, Young Patriot Organization, and all other original Rainbow Coalition members, we established our pragmatic unity. The 6 disciplinary rules that we uphold ties all of the organization in our coalition to a common professional discipline. History has bestowed upon our generation a common class mission to fulfill. The representative of the capitalist imperialist ruling class, represented by the Democratic Party and Republican Party, cannot liberate us. It is their class intention and interest to uphold our common class oppression. Therefore, it is only we, the oppressed massive of all ethnicity and nationality, who must build the necessary class solidarity, class consciousness, organization structure, and a united front that will ultimately liberate ourselves. This is what the Second Rainbow Coalition is committed to do. This is the historic mission we intend to fulfill. Dare to struggle, dare to win. Hashtag all power to the people. Hashtag boots on the ground, where all the members of the coalitions are the New African Black Party, Panther Party, the American Indian Movement, Indiana. I believe the latest one is in Connecticut. If I'm wrong, please forgive me for that. The White Panther Party, the Green Party of New Jersey, the Poor People's Army, La Mesa Nacional, the Brown Berets, FERRY, which is the Feminine Upright to Resist inequitably, and exploitation, the Guardian Rebellion, as of August 21, 2021. Now, if I had excluded some other groups, please don't charge it to my heart. You can charge it to my head. But I just want to go over the 6 disciplinary rules, which are: 1, members will conduct themselves in a manner to bring credit to the coalition and will treat others with respect and politeness. 2, we just ask that members be sober when on Rainbow Coalition businesses and will not engage in any criminal activity while a member. 3, no member will engage in violence except in the extremities of self-defense. 4, members will not gossip nor be divisive to the unity of the Second Rainbow Coalition. 5, members will not act as informers nor work against the purpose of the Second Rainbow Coalition. 6, nobody is authorized to speak for the Second Rainbow Coalition unless authorized to do so. Does anybody have any questions, any concerns, or any suggestions that you want to make before we get into our read? Okay. All right. The last that we read, we read about Brother Hyde Thurman as far as his affiliation with the Rainbow Coalition and his acquaintance with Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., which I must admit, our brother Thurman, he has an extensive history that go back in the 50s and 60s, where a number of people was also discriminated based on class status, where I have to say, from reading about the mayor for Chicago, I mean, he was a very, very gruesome type of guy. And I would say he was like 4 times worse than Trump. So if you have not heard or read about Daley back then, he was like a gangster. And not only he would terrorize certain communities like low-income communities, Blacks, people of other colors, but this man would do everything by using the law and also doing things that's unlawful just to annihilate, to imprison, to stop exactly what Fred Hampton Sr. have done to let everybody in the country know we're not going to tolerate this racism and this social injustice that's against people of color, people who are Black and come from a low-income family or a low-income community. So now we are going to read about the splits and new reality. And what I like to do, since I'm only the one that moderate, I'm going to stop between certain areas of points in our chapter and see if anybody wants to actually give their opinion, want to discuss something that really impact them or highlight it from the chapter. So I'm starting from 163 to 186, I believe, the end of that chapter. And I'm going to start with the splits in new reality. And we are talking about the grassroots organization. So here we go. Many of the articles and recording of the Young Patriots center around one of our new members, William, quote, Preacher Man, end quote, Fesperman. He served as Minister of Information of the Young Patriots for a while. He informed our Central Committee that he was attempting to organize a National Young Patriots Party. Fesperman had been in Uptown for a short period of time. He moved from North Carolina to study theology in Chicago. In 1968, Peggy, Terry, and I met Parchman at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Resurrection City in Washington, D.C. He was a seminary student and professed an interest in working with the Young Patriots and poor Southern whites. We invited him to visit Uptown. Shortly afterwards, he moved his family to Uptown and began to work with the Patriots. He possessed good oratorial skills and shared our revolutionary beliefs. He represented the group at various speaking engagements. After the murder of Fred Hampton, he proposed that due to the accomplishment and progress of the national students and other movements, it was time for us to move into the national movement, maintaining to continue to organize in Uptown only was trivial. He stated that other patriarch members felt that it was time to go national. We decided and disagreed with him because we were convinced that we haven't built a solid enough base in Chicago yet. To concentrate on a national program will weaken all accomplishment that have been made due to us finally having a voice in the community. Many young patriarch members resented the outsiders, scholars, students, politicians, and members of the national movement attempted to advise us on organizing and conducting programs that they knew nothing about. Many organizers, outsiders, didn't understand the culture of the community and were not aware that the definition of self-determination was paramount to us. Outsiders would leave when they wanted to, but community residents would not. The young patriarchs had grown, and we learned more than the outsiders who initially thought us organizing techniques. We did not have time to teach others outside, especially as most of our time and energy was spent in battles with, quote, urban renewal, end of quote, police brutality, and daily survival. We believed that revolutionary needed time and community resistance to be proven workable. Poor people will fight battles of their own choosing in their own community and establish their own program before going national. Preacher men disagreed and went on to establish the Patriarch Party with chapters in New York, Washington, D.C., Oregon, and New Haven, Connecticut, claiming that the split from the Young Patriarch organization was amicable. So on February 17, 1970, an article stated, quote, "The Patriarch Party speaks to the movement," end of quote, appeared in the West Coast Black Panther newspaper written by preacher men. The article made slanderous remarks about the Young Patriarch organization in Chicago. And here it goes. The Patriarch Party grew out of the old Young Patriarch organization in Uptown Chicago. We split from the Young Patriarch organization because there were more concerned with the old friendship individuals rather than the masses of people in Uptown. They would rather be friends with a few people and indulge in drinking than listening to the community cries for help. Those old friends were holding the Patriarch Party back. The Patriarch organization was guilty of extreme liberalism. For the sake of peace and friendship, things have clearly gone wrong. A few programs were started by YPO in Uptown Chicago. However, people were not being educated in the struggle, so they had the effect of being reformist programs. Responding to the article, Young Patriarch Chairman Bobby McGinnis said that, quote, "First Berman was forced to leave Uptown by members of the Young Patriarch organization because of his boisterous ego and refusal to conform to the needs of the Uptown people. He was more interested in gaining a national reputation and an identity with other radical and revolutionary groups than serving the needs of Uptown," end of quote. While he was representing the Patriot Party, he was recruiting support for a national party and did not make the young patriarch aware until he proposed the move to a national organization. His article was received as a retaliation for being forced to leave uptown. Bobby McGinnis and the Patriot Central Committee added that, quote, the split between Fesperman and the YPO was not agreeable and negotiable, end of quote. Also, the statement explained that the Patriot Party and any chapter established was only, quote, chapters in training, end of quote, and demanding they discontinue the use of the original 11-point programs and develop their own to fit their party platform. Also, the Young Patriots saw the need to address the Confederate flag, which was worn by many Patriot Party members because the Young Patriots in Chicago had discontinued its use. We had grown in our knowledge of the Civil War, and it had become clear to us that the South was the counter-revolutionary and reactionary side in the conflict. In our view, there was no jurisdiction for our revolutionary group using a symbol of racist. But flags represented a system of slaveocracy, which not only perpetuate this slavery of Blacks, but also the powerlessness of poor whites to further radical and class hatred. We believe that the so-called, quote, rebel, end of quote, flag continued to offend our Black brothers and sisters because it was a symbol of hate from a period in history in which they were nothing more than private property to be bought and sold. The patriotic response was sent to the Black Panther Party, but we received no response of it appearing in any of their publication. In our defense, we may have been a little bit guilty of all of the allegation, and most likely so were some members of the Patriotic Party. It is wrong to assume that because one joins an organization that a transformation instantly occurred and one become completely indoctrinated into the beliefs and the purpose of the organization. Education takes time. Old friends will have to be given time to grow and learn in the organization. We were street people. We did frequent bars and pool halls as we did before we became a political organization. Fesperman, too, was known to visit bars while wearing the Confederate flag to discuss the needs of the community while drinking with local residents. To change our community, we would meet people on their own turf. Sometimes that would be in bars, while other times in the street or at community action meetings. Our actions spoke for themselves. We did drink, smoke weed, and experimented with recreational drugs as the members of the national movement. We would talk with people who frequent bars because that was where we knew how to contact them for community activities and protests. And yes, First Amendment was correct. We did hang out with, quote, old friends and drinking buddies, end of quote, because many was trying to navigate through life's problem like poverty, sickness, and depression, while other possessed organizing skills in coal mining, for example, that were helpful to us. Also, this is where we will learn about their needs and get them involved. Sometimes the greatest act is to help pull someone from the bottom of a bottle. We were respected in bars, the streets, and community action meetings because we offered a solid program through the 11-point program. We did not change to satisfy the politician, liberals, conservatives, and opportunists. We were about revolution, and the community understood that our goals was to make Uptown a self-determined community run by the people. We were not saints or pacifists when we had to defend our community and will fight if we were challenged. There was organizational disagreement between the Chicago Young Patriots and the newly found Patriot Party about who should lead the Rainbow Coalition. In an article in the New York Times titled, quote, Black Panther joined coalition and Puerto Ricans and Appalachian groups, end of quote. A quote attribute to defense captains of the Patriot Party, Arthur Turco's cause dissent between the Young Patriot Organization and the Patriot Party. The article notes, quote, since the Panthers and the Young Lords are the best organized of the groups and that the Blacks are the largest oppressed elements in American society, Mr. Turco sees the Black group as the leader of the coalition, end of quote. We felt that Turco's statement was against the original purpose of the Rainbow Coalition because to allow any group or individual to lead the coalition will eliminate self-determination, and the coalition will become just another movement organization controlled by a hierarchy. The Rainbow Coalition was the code word for solidarity. The Patriot Party had forgotten that the coalition was not under the control of any leader, but rather each member organization had equal representation. We view this as an attempt to hijack the coalition and make the original coalition irrelevant. Further, the Young Patriot in Chicago were very organized. The Patriot Party continued organizing nationally with free health clinics, food pantries, a drug abuse program. Their efforts were short-lived because their leadership was not prepared for the repression of the FBI and the police. After a short period of time, residents in their target community did not trust the outsiders. They were also reluctant to get involved due to a fear of becoming victims of police brutality and harassment. Further, the party failed to build a base of community organization and community leaders and were attacked by racist groups who did have an established base in the community. Several Patriot Party members were jailed on false charges such as gun violation and drug charges. According to a source who requested not to be identified, quote, several women, including prostitutes, infiltrated the Patriot Party, and some were police informants. Since they were new to the community, there was no foolproof way of identifying anyone's background and identity, end of quote. The FBI also spread rumors in Black Chicago neighborhoods and communities that we were a front for the KKK and American Nazi Party. The Black Panthers and other groups in Chicago did not believe the rumors and saw them as an attempt by the FBI to disrupt relations among Rainbow Coalition members. Leaders of the Eugene origin chapter of the Patriot Party, Chuck Armsbury, was arrested on a gun violation and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. Armsbury who was also a PhD student at the University of Oregon, at, uh, excuse me, at Eugene was well known and respected by students and carry a lot of influences on campus. In court, a member of his chapter testified against him. He was part of a wave of arrests by the FBI and local police. Armsbury stated at that time, quote, "It seemed that the remaining leadership forgot about me. I made several attempts to contact them for help, but it never came," end of quote. Soon after Armsbury arrest, All Patriarch Party chapter was attacked by the FBI and local cops and began to disband. Soon after the sweep, many members left the party, including Fesperman, who lived in seclusion from the movement. He passed away from cancer in his state of North Carolina. Further controversy arose after Fesperman left Uptown and found the Patriarch Party, and it is still a young point of contention today. Who actually founded the Rainbow Coalition? The first contact between the Panthers and Patriot and some members of SDS was in 1968 through the Peace and Freedom Party, PFP. The PFP asked for a representative from Uptown to be the running mate for the Eldridge Cleveland for president campaign. Peggy Terry, who broke from a family tradition of Klan membership, took on the task as his vice presidential running mate. The Patriarch and some SDS students took on the task of running Terry campaign. In 1968, Fred, the field secretary of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party, Bobby Lee, caught the intent interest of the Patriarch while attending a community council meeting of mostly middle-class white liberals who began to scorn members of the Patriarch for not working to get out of poverty after making an appeal for financial help to run their programs. Lee was quick to defend the white Patriarch members, met with them after the meeting, and agreed to come to Uptown. Lee reported to Fred Hampton about his experience with white anti-racist hillbillies who was teaching revolutionary politics in Uptown and suggested that the Panther form a relationship with us. I'm close to the end of this chapter, y'all. Hampton agreed that a relationship was needed and was worth the risk to fight segregation in Chicago. Lee reported back to the Patriarch, and a community members was organized to solidify the partnership. Lee was named chairman of the Police Brutality Committee, and the committee community meetings with the district police commander was held to inform him that police brutality would no longer be tolerated. The Patriarch began adopting some of the Panthers' program and ideology. This was the beginning of the relationship with the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. Here is the controversy about who actually founded the Rainbow Coalition. On April 4th, 1969, a meeting took place with Fred Hampton and Bobby Lee from the Black Panther Party. Jose Chacha Jimenez of the Young Laws Organization and Bill Preacherman Fesperman of the Young Patriarch Organization, who was said to be the only founders of the first Rainbow Coalition. I am not qualified to speak for the Black Panther Party or the Young Laws Organization, but I'm qualified to speak for the Young Patriarch Organization. As I am a founding member and was an active member at the time of the meeting. Fersperman has been identified as the founder and leaders of the Patriot. He was neither. He became the spokesperson of the organization because of his communication skills. He was assigned to attend the April 4th meeting only to represent the Patriot and report back to the Central Committee. He, along with the Central Committee, agreed to participate. Therefore, the entire Patriot Central Committees was the actual co-founders of the Rainbow Coalition, and they began identifying themselves as such. The decision was easily made due to the Patriot past relationship and the Panthers by the way of the Cleaver-Terry campaign, as well as their relationship with Bobby Lee. Later, Fersperman detached from the Chicago Patriot and found the Patriot Party working closely with the National Black Panther Party. Anybody have any questions? Okay, what I'm gonna do is read the end of the Young Patriot, which is it's really a short chapter. Unless anybody have any suggestions, any concern, or is there anything that you want me to go over as far as Heisman, journey dealing with the coalition of other organizations getting together to fight against what's have took place in their community, dealing with racism and police brutality? No questions? All right, I'll go ahead and proceed. The end of the Young Patriot. It was after the Chicago City Council approved construction of the proposed City College and all necessary federal agencies were in agreement in addition to COINTELPRO, and the Young Patriots saw their final days. The constructions of the college was long and tedious, and many of the vacant buildings sat empty for long periods of time before they were demolished. Thurman College opened its doors in 1976, taking up a quarter of uptown residential area. The Young Patriot organizing base was literally wiped out in a matter of a few months. It was futile to try to organize. The Southern migrants was once again set out on the migrant trail. Many went back south to take out whatever living they can. Some moved on to other countries while others turned to alcohol and stayed in Chicago, blending into the street environment of so many winos and drunks. There was a small portion that had been able to find jobs and become financially stable. They stayed in uptown and continue to live there today. By 1975, the destruction of the residential community ended any hopes of continuing to organize white migrants. Many members of the Young Patriot became migrants also. Some moved to Tennessee, California, Alabama, Kentucky, West Virginia, Baltimore, and New York, and some to other Illinois and Wisconsin cities. The Southern Cultural Exchange Center attempted to organize groups to represent the community, with plans that would remove residents in the Thurman target area. Both were ignored by the Daily Machine. And Daily Machine, just a saying of that mayor who was really terrorizing a lot of people in the community. Well, all attempts by other activist groups to have influence on decision for the community were also ignored. The city had won, and plans were put into play to rid of town of all poor people, returning the area to the affluence of the past. For safety reasons, I had removed myself from many activity with the exception of attending Northeastern Illinois University Uptown Center to continue my education. While still being engaged and organizing in Uptown, after graduating in 1973, I was hired to be a public relations and community representative and co-lecturer of Northeastern, which gave me the opportunity to expand the university program to recruit for residents. Then after leaving NEIU in 1975, I accepted a short-term job in the Model City program, working with senior citizen and handicap programs. The program's director from a working class background and thought we would make a great team. After I accepted a job at the Montrose Urban Program Center in Uptown, my employment was terminated after 9 months due to falsifying information to get needed services and monetarize wheelchairs to a few individuals who have been denied services. But perhaps the best reason was that while I worked there, I had gained access to information of the Democratic Party's plan, proposals, and decisions for the community. I would advise block clubs and opposing organization of the machine's plan and literally kill daily efforts before they even started. After being exposed, I was fired and again targeted by the Chicago police. In 1977, legacy Chicago folk singer Mick Scott and I organized, quote, Blues to Bluesgrass, end of quote, a organization that recruited progressive and revolutionary musicians from the Chicago area to help their community by performing for schools, block clubs, nursing homes, and doing benefits for community organizations. At the same time, Blues to Bluegrass would expose new and existing talents and build on audience from them. Mick Scott and Bill Cody will recruit musicians, and I would advertise for them and book them into local venues and other gigs such as parties, schools, etc. While performing benefits, they will get a percentage of the door and free drinks. The regular commission would be collected from booking gigs, and it will be used from publicity and advertising for the upcoming gigs. Blues to Bluegrass was an organization made of a community organization, musicians, and other interested people, such as photographers who donated their time. The group organized special low-cost music lessons for underprivileged children with the Old Town School of Folk Music and other musicians in Chicago. The program was a tremendous success and continued for many years. Raising Up Angry, the Southern Culture Exchange Center, and many other organizations benefit from Blues to Bluegrass. By 1975 to 1976, the organization boasted over 150 artists.
Your mic is off, soul sister.
That's why we call it Blues to Bluegrass, because it can be every kind of instrument of any style of vocals. Music is the universal language that speaks to the struggles of the people, and it is best oppressed by the people who live in the community themselves. Artists suggested to the pressure of Nashville, New York, or Los Angeles are not always in the best position to reflect the needs and desire of the community, particularly the hard cover reality of daily life. Music can sometimes be a key element, commodity, and can help tremendously in bringing different groups together to work on a common cause. Our earliest band was the quote, Special Consensus Bluegrass Band, end of quote, which had won many musical awards and still contributes to the community. Mike Dunbar, Coco Taylor, Eddie Clearwater were among the many who donated their talents. Our think was that it was time that organization and people start promoting themselves instead of some big company which doesn't give a damn about the people in the community. The belief was that if we could take one person or band and make them famous, they can come back and do benefits for organizations who serve people in need. It was an important way to raise money because it expressed the people's identity. And that's the end of that chapter. Is there anything that somebody wants to say, or do you feel that it would be best to, reach out to those comrades, former and present, who are well known to help our mission as far as revolutionaries?
I like that he mentioned getting people music lessons and how important that can be for self-fulfillment. Like I'm working with a homeless connection of mine, and we're trying to get kind of like a out of city commune going type thing. And
Uh-huh.
he voiced an interest in getting art supplies and how it can help fulfill people's lives, even living in a homeless squat, basically, to have that outlet.
Okay. Yeah, because one thing I noticed, I didn't realize that there's so many people who are celebrities. Like we have Shaka Khan, who is a celebrity. She was the Panther, which Fred Hampton had introduced her to the Black Panther party for self-defense in Chicago. And, other greats. Let's see, there was a lady, I forget her name. Oh, goodness, her name just slipped. Henry, I think it's Henry Fonda daughter. And I see, with these celebrities, they can touch a lot of people in seeing exactly what we are doing for the community. Because as we see, as far as with these politicians, some of these politicians, they want to do without, the organization and want to incarcerate them. Oh, somebody was just coming in. I was just reading what they were saying. So I think, with some celebrities, they will make a great impact with being in partnership and reaching out to other people to help us expand the mission, which, we are doing now. And the one thing that has been mentioned in here is that, when you bring a number of organizations together in a coalitions, there's always differences because everybody's not culturated with other, organization. And that brings on, more stress, and it just, have people to dissent from being part of a coalition. And my question is to everybody out there is, what would you recommend as far as us staying together in the fight against what we are faced today. Can someone take that question? Oh, Sue is trying to call. Hello, Sister Veronica.
Hello, sister. I apologize. Apparently, I was on a different link.
Oh, man.
I was on
Listen,
a
can you
different
take
link.
over that conversation? Because I'm
I
the chairman of the new African Black Panther Party. He's trying to contact me. I guess he's trying
Okay.
to come in. Can you take
Okay.
over that conversation and I'll be right back?
Yes, of course. Maybe just send him the Zoom link directly so that he doesn't have to go through the whole the whole history and end up on the wrong one like I did. But
Oh,
yes. So
it
we're
should be
on.
quick.
Okay. Thank you, sis.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we are on the chapter entitled The End of the Young Patriots. Is that correct?
As there were certain things going on, and Wall Street was very interested because these were public things, and they needed to know. Tell me what happened when you opened your email on the morning of August
Oh,
8th.
I think somebody needs to mute their phone, maybe.
Sign-ups to crazy newsletters.
Okay, can everybody else hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I wasn't sure who that was. But okay, so we're on the chapter entitled The End of the Young Patriots. Is that correct?
I believe we either just ended, it was a short chapter she was reading from,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, the one ending with it expressing people's identity. Says the belief was that if we could take one person or band and make them famous, they can come back and do benefits for organizations who serve people in need. It was an important way to raise money because it expressed the people's identity. I think that was the last part that I caught.
Yeah, that was the last part of it.
Okay, so I guess I'll open up the floor to anything that may have stood out to anyone from the chapter. I think the chapter starts off with the young patriots seeing their final days is kind of how it started off.
Yeah.
I like the way that Comrade High put it, where he said on page 174, the Young Patriots organizing base was literally wiped out in a matter of a few months. It was futile to try to organize. The Southern migrant was once again sent out on the migrant trail. Many went back south to eke out whatever living they can. Some moved on to other cities while others turned to alcohol and stayed in Chicago, blending into the street environment of so many winos and drunks. To me, that part stood out because, you know, it talks about it. I think it speaks to the inevitable of, you know, what is constant, which the only thing that is always constant is change. And so with what was going on in the chapters previous, where he talked about, you know, the FBI and, you know, the local politicians and basically the wrath that they were getting from them, you know, that it ended up, and then the gentrification, which he also talks about a little bit more on page 175, where it says the city had wanted and plans were put into play to rid uptown of all poor people, returning the area to the affluence of the past. And so, you know, we see this even today. You know, we have people from different areas. But I think that's one thing that we all have in common is that we can speak to the gentrification of our communities. Does anyone? Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
my bad. I resonated with it because even today I was in a kind of a queer support group in person,
Mhm.
and we were talking about how to get more queer people in this area to, get involved. But I feel like a lot of people, especially the people I work with, like homeless folks, a lot of them are apathetic from just the sheer exhaustion and the overwhelmingness that it seems when we're so individualized in the system. And that's what people view as normal, that it
Mm.
seems like it's this monster beast that nobody can tackle alone, and you can't, and so to inspire people to join up, it's a hard thing to do.
Right, right. You're absolutely right because there's so many levels to it.
Yeah, and you know what, sister, if you don't mind me interjecting, I
Of
was
course.
saying which brother Thurman had mentioned in his book. I think the problem is that everybody is not culturated with other organizations. And I guess by becoming more familiar with everybody personality in general as an organization, people can understand where they're coming from.
Mm.
And that's like one of the stressor, or one of the breaking point when we have a bigger fight, and that is the fight against police brutality, racism that's taking place, because a lot of people wants to see what the revolutionaries are doing. They want to see us divisive. They want to see us apart. They want us to stay separated, so this way we will not challenge them or, fight against what they feel isn't right, but what we feel that will justify the community,
Mm-hmm.
And it just clears, and very obvious, where do we go from here? Even when it's coming down to organizing, because if you compare certain leaders back in the days, like Dr. Martin Luther King, he was a great mobilizer, but he was a horrible organizer. And the one person who was a great organizer was his wife, which Hoover had like team loads of agents following her everywhere, even to the point of her going to the bathroom to urinate. And they have to report back to Hoover every step and move that she made, because she was the backbone. She was the organizer of all the civil rights movement, not Martin Luther King. He was a great orator, and he was someone who mobilizes the masses, but he was horrible in organizing. Now, if you take Ihaj Malik El-Shabazz, who was known by the name of Malcolm X, he was a great mobilizer, and he was an organizer, where he was able to not only gather the attention of a lot of people, but we got to see him revolve into this holistic being from what he was taught, where he had to pretty denounce everything of what he was taught by Minister Muhammad, to what he learned when he took that trip to Mecca and seeing, oh, you know what, who I have saw, as demonized and as the devil, is not the teaching of what I learned when I took that trip to Mecca, and he had his own struggle. So then again, it's just come down to actually knowing people, knowing their personality, being culturated, and seeing for yourself, which will make us a better coalition, and overcome the obstacles of what people had experienced, with these organizations, from the Young Lord, the Young Patriots, and so forth, even with the Chicago chapter of the, the Black Panther Party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that also makes me think of the previous chapter, and I apologize if this has already been brought up when y'all read the last chapter, but on page 169 in the book, where it talks about the organizational disagreements that came about, and how the Rainbow Coalition was a code word for solidarity.
Right.
And then it talked about also the history with the Patriot Party. And what had been forgotten was that the coalition was not under the control of any one leader, but rather each member organization had equal representation, which I think is the beauty of the Rainbow Coalition, and which is definitely what we are seeking to uphold as well. We all see what happens when, it's even a method of the enemy to, on the media, throw a one person, we just had Cesar Chavez Day, and we had all these different, activities throughout Aslan to honor Cesar Chavez, and not that his, his contributions in the struggle, particularly the farm workers movement, are not valid. Absolutely, they are. However, it's just another example, sister, of what you're mentioning here with Dr. Martin Luther King and his wife, and there were others as well. And the thing about it is that craziness is that so much was happening all around the same time, but the way, even the little bit that we get in school, has been separated and divided. And so we don't see the unification that was happening there. We don't see that people were coming together. I very recently learned about the Rainbow Coalition. I very recently learned of these other organizations that were also a part of the coalition. And it was like they were all separate. No, they were not. They were coming together.
Right.
But if the narrative can be that they were separate and they failed, then how discouraging is that? I don't see failure. I see lessons.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that,
right.
Yes.
Kwame touched on it earlier tonight on the live video of the book tour.
Okay.
Before I moved to the Bay Area, California, I didn't even know anything about the Black Panther Party. And the only thing I learned right up front was this highly propagandized picture of them standing on a state building with guns, made it out like they were some anti-white, violent, racist group.
Right.
Nobody mentions the survival programs like WIC, low-income clinics, and how it started as a self-defensive group. And really, people who equate self-defensive action with hate-filled violence are usually the ones that don't need to protect themselves. And so learning from experience and learning from other people's experiences has really opened my eyes to what we're just intentionally blinded to, by the public school system, by the media. It's astounding, really.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you know what, and that's true. And one thing I noticed in my journey, as far as with the movement, strictly with the Black movement, you're right. When you have a coalition, of course, no one have any jurisdiction over the other. And by just appreciating, I wouldn't say appreciating, but accepting other organization where we can work collectively and equally, will bring a stronger movement. And that's the one thing, and I'm gonna be honest, which is a family thing as far as in a movement, because there's always one person who want to lead the pack, and you can't do that. You can't, because that's like pretty much suppressing the other organization that had decided to join in the movement in what we need to accomplish, And it just go back to the new African Black Panther Party, a 10-point program that really coincide with what the Panthers have written and part of the 10-point platform, which, NABPP had also used as well in a 10-point program, is that we want freedom, we want power to determine the destiny of our Black and our oppressed community. We believe that the Black and oppressed people will not be free until we are able to determine our destiny in our own community ourselves by fully controlling all the institutions which exist in our community. So we gotta, pretty much not only be in each other advocate, but understand exactly where we all coming from so we can move collectively in this movement.
Yeah, I would like to add to that, as a member of La Raza Unida, is that it was very interesting to me to see the parallels in our platform statement and the 10-point program, and
Right.
when I'm reading the 10-point program and I see in there, the inclusion of all oppressed peoples, was that there was a recognition that, it wasn't only a particular set of people that were being oppressed by this capitalist society that we live in, but that there are several, most of us are affected some way, somehow. But that there were parallels in there, for La Raza Unida's platform statement and the 10-point program. How could we miss that? We have to point it out to each other to see the commonality, so we have something to build on, and also to see that we are more similar than we are different. Not to say that there aren't differences, because I do absolutely know, and I've shared this before, that as a brown person growing up in a predominantly Black neighborhood, I witnessed firsthand that the darker that you are, the worse you have it. I witnessed that firsthand. That was my experience. Even amongst brown people, same thing, and so I recognized very early on that I had a certain level of privilege because I wasn't as dark, even as my siblings. I saw it even in my home, and then of course it just got worse as you stepped outside of the home, into the school and into the communities and stuff. But yeah, I think that we absolutely need to not miss that. I think too many times we get into this thing of who has it worse,
Right.
and it's not a competition, it's about who has it worse. But we definitely have to validate the experience and the singularities of the oppression of others outside of ourselves.
Right.
I've been using the metaphor. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, brother.
Okay. I am in a predominantly white small city. And I've been kind of getting lower income or like straight up homeless people to realize that they have a lot more in common with Black workers than a white billionaire, just by being like, the cockroaches in a Black household are a lot more in common with the cockroaches in your household than whatever Jeff Bezos got going on in his mansion. And just using that alone, and I don't remember where I originally drew inspiration of that at, but that alone has gotten people to kind of sit back and think about it for a second, because a lot of people just align themselves, based on the color of their skin with a billionaire than they will with a worker who's got a lot more similarities in, class struggle than what they think they got in common with a billionaire is.
Wow. Queen, Panther Queen, do you have anything you want to contribute?
I don't at this time. I'm very interested in purchasing the book, because I would like to, start reading it and get more familiar with it.
Oh yeah, his book is really good. Matter of fact, he awakened me to a number of things that a lot of our revolutionary members have been through in the Appalachian area, where, you know, like Sister Veronica say, it's not in comparisons of how worse we have it, but the fact that we have to work together, because you know, none of us are free unless we are all free
Right.
of racism, of poverty, and these are the
Yeah.
things that we are facing today. And yes, I agree to get the book, because it is so great to have a strong foundation, sister, to know about our legendary greats. But it is so remarkable, so credible to have these gold mine material about our current leaders like Kwame, Shakur, and her Hyde Thurman, because there's not a lot of revolutionaries who wrote a book about their journey.
Right.
And I'm sure with our brothers, they encourage everybody, because your journey make a great impact on the movement, on how we can mobilize, how we can organize, because everybody have a talent in what they can do into helping us to be stronger in the movement. So if y'all don't have the book, please, I will recommend get this book. And also,
Yeah.
one thing about our group is that we do some giveaways, and this is like one of the things we do. If it's not gift cards, you know, we give paraphernalias, we give away, you know, notes, posters, and we can even help to invest in a book for you all to have, which
So
is
do
very
you
good
meet
to have.
you meet frequently to discuss the book?
Excuse me?
Do you meet frequently to discuss the book?
Oh,
Like, do you guys
yes.
have a session? Okay. I would definitely like
Yes.
to be a part of that.
Oh, please, please. Matter of fact, are you available on Sunday, or are you available on Friday or Monday? What is your schedule?
Friday will be good for me. Friday is the
Okay,
best
because
time for me.
will Friday at 7 o'clock be fine?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Before we leave, what I'm gonna do is, you know, I don't know if Shamako is still on, but I wanted to get more involved into the study group. Please, Phyllis, come on in. Yes. Matter of fact, I want to give you my information, or Sister Veronica information, so we can add you.
Okay.
Let me ask.
I'm still on, sister. What do you need?
Excuse me.
I'm still on. What do you need?
Oh no, there's a couple of people that want to come into the group, but we have Panther Queen, and we have Felix, Brother Felix, who wants to be part of the, you know, our book study group. So we like to add them in.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Kwame has to add them onto the signal groups. But what I can do, I'm about to park. I will copy and paste the link into the chat, so folks can save it. We use the same link for every meeting, so you don't have to change things. It's the same link.
Okay.
Okay. So Panther Queen, are you part of the New African Black Panther chat group?
No, well, I'm a part of the group, but I am a Black Panther legacy keeper. But I go to the Sunday class, the Sunday PE classes that they have for the New African Black Panthers. But I'm originally part of the Black Panther Party legacy keepers.
Okay, because usually on Sunday we meet at 2 o'clock, but being that I had a race today, I wasn't able to moderate at that time since it was a conflict. So I had a schedule with the permission of my other co-moderators, like Sister Veronica and our elder you know, Conrad Leslie, if we can switch our time to 7 o'clock. So please feel welcome to come and join us. I'll put it in the chat as far as my information, or if you have our sister Veronica contact, please contact her and we will add you in. And I just want to ask Brother Felix, is there anything you want to also include, or you want more information as far as joining us?
So I'm planning on buying High Thurman and Kwame's book possibly tomorrow. I get paid. But I just generally would like to get more information on these study groups. You know,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Sure, definitely. Well, you are in the new African Black Panther group chat.
Yeah, yes, I am.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and drop my information down there. And like I said, what day would be good for you to come and join us and even help moderate us? Would Sunday be good for you, Friday or Monday?
So Sundays, I'm taking the political education course through the new African Black Panther Party. But depending on time, I might be able to work something in. I go to a church and certain in-community meetings throughout the month on Sundays, but I can usually be pretty flexible.
Okay, because we meet at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Would that be a conflict of interest?
No, I don't think that would be a much issue at all.
Okay. All right, because we love to have you to co-moderate with us. Because I just want to say this. I know there has been a lot going on with the movement. And just to keep it on a very good note, we will, after Brother High Thurman book, we're going to get into Aaron Dixon book. And when we meet next Sunday, I'm going to do a giveaway in which I'm going to invest in another book, but have that book to be mailed to your address. So this way, you know, one of our lucky members can have a book, because I'm going to tell you, these are gold mine. These are gold mine. Even when I have one book that Sister Veronica seen, which was falling apart, and it's the quotation of Chairman Mao. I swear, if I turn one page, it's all going to disintegrate, because that book is older than me. But I still have that book.
I got a copy of that as a housewarming present, and I've just been going through and like scanning different quotations. I love it.
That is a book that you can read at any point in time over and over, and you will get something out of it every single time.
Absolutely.
And
Well, I
also
just want to say, as
that
far as
there's a book that just was dropped. My auntie and some other women of the Black Panther Party wrote it, and it's called Conrad Sisters.
Okay.
oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so I would be interested in us adding that to the book reading as well.
And you know what? And I think that would be a great book to read, because we are reading about our revolutionary greats who are our male comrades.
Yeah.
But it's so great in a even balance to hear the perspective of the women who also involved, which was 77% of them. And they had leading roles. And it was the majority of us women who were involved and who still are involved in the movement. So that will be great. And I thank you for that. And it's something that, you know, as a group, you know, we need to just mention and put out there so we can decide on that. So I'm sorry I'm not reading the questions. Richard, do you have any questions, suggestions, or concerns? Oh, he's probably in the background. How about you, Vincent? He's probably in the back.
No,
Oh,
I'm
there you
good.
go.
Yeah, just you know, I enjoyed the conversation and look forward to reading whatever books y'all reading. I don't know what they are, but I will look into purchasing
Okay,
mine.
well, we are
You see?
reading a Revolutionary Hillbilly. I don't
Oh,
know if you
okay.
can see it.
Yeah.
By one of our Conrad Elderman, That is Brother Hyde Thurman. He was with the First Rainbow Coalition, the Young Patriarch. He was with honorary late chairman, Hampton, Fred Hampton Sr. So this is a gold mine right here, because he would inform you exactly the struggles that the Panthers and the Young Patriot and the your young lords have went through back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and so forth. So I mean, he's just dropping nuggets after nuggets. And right now, I just want to mention that our brother Thurman, as well as Kwame, they are doing a principal tour on the East Coast. And I believe the last time they was in Lambertville, New Jersey, and they will be going to Connecticut, and they will be going to New York City. So if you happen to be in the East Coast and in that area, please stop by, say howdy to them. They would love to see you and share, their journey with you. And we're going to continue as far as our book read is concerned, because this is one of the blueprint in the revolution in which, encourage not only our members to read and to know and become culturated, but it just educate us about our movement of resiliency and tenacity to make valuable decision, make more contribution for the sacrifice and a commitment that has been done by our former, late, and our present legendary greats in the fighting against racism, with solidarity, as Fred Hampton has said. And one thing, I have to say, and I love about our book club, is that it brings character as well as decision making, where we can, we all come from different organizations, but we can come together and peacefully speak about that. And I just want to leave you with one thing, which is a quote, not a quote, but a little poem, which I had mentioned, and it's called Attitude by Charles Swindoll. And it goes like this: the longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than appearances, giftedness, or skill. It will either make or break a company, a church, a house, an organization, even a formation. But the remarkable thing is, we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable, but the one thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. And I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. So this is something that I normally read every day, and it is true. And I think it reflects on, everybody's experience, who are revolutionary. Or someone said, can someone please email me the link of the book reading? Because oh, that's you, Princess Queen.
Yeah, that's me. Because once I log out of this, I won't have the link anymore.
Okay.
So I need it so I can keep it in my email, so I'll be able to go straight to it and log on.
If you check the chat, I believe I sent it to you.
Yeah, it's in the chat, but once I log off the chat, I won't have it no more. It'll disappear.
Can you copy it and save it on a document?
Let me try.
No, I think you good because you shared it with me. So when we come back next week, I'm just gonna use that same one.
She's right.
Oh, okay.
It's in our chat. It's in our messenger exchange.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
yeah, 'cause-
she's right. It will disappear when you close it. So what I was saying
Uh-huh.
is,
Not the
make
one
sure-
that's in our messenger exchange though. She got it already.
Oh, okay, for sure. You're talking about
You could
Signal
pin it.
Messenger?
No, go ahead, boss.
You're talking about the Signal Messenger?
No, whatever Zoom link. She sent me the Zoom link in a messenger.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
somebody else
Sitting
sent
there.
me the Zoom link and I passed it on to Vincent. So
Oh,
he's
okay.
talking about like instant messaging.
Yeah, so all
Okay,
you gotta
all right,
do is
so
just pin that to the
Use that
top,
one.
Okay,
Mhm.
and then we can both. I'm about to pin it myself. So
all right.
Uh,
All
okay,
power to the
what
people.
I'll do, okay, more power to you, sis.
power to the
I'm gonna
people.
also put my email right there in the chat, in which I have forwarded out our link to. And I just want to know, before we close out, is there anything anybody else want to say? Sister Veronica, is there anything you want to
Yeah.
include?
Yeah, I thought our reading today would end on page 182.
Oh, 182?
Yeah, there's one other chapter. It's a very small chapter.
Okay,
But
you want to go ahead and take that and
I sure can. I sure can.
Okay.
And if
I'm
anybody
sorry
needs,
about that, guys.
yeah, no problem. And if anybody needs to go, we completely understand it. Thank you all for making the time to join us today. We will be also posting the link of the recording later, so that if you do have to go, you will be able to see the last part of it. But this third chapter here that we're doing today is short, but it's good. It's really good. It's entitled "Going Back Home, Feeling Like a Fugitive." I'm on my way back home again, to the air, the grass, the trees, and with the help of this old Ford, I'll be home by 3. The Windy City just ain't my bag. It kicked me in the ass. That's a quote by Larry Giles, Southern immigrant. In 1978, my wife, daughter, and I relocated back to my hometown, Dayton, Tennessee. The first week back, I encountered police harassment when I was pulled over by a Reed County police officer. I knew it was not only because my car had Illinois license plates. The officer knew who I was and asked me how long I intended on staying in town. This was only the first of many times that I would be stopped and asked the same question. My sister Geraldine informed me that a year before I came back home, the county sheriff and the United States Postal Service postmaster visited her to inquire about several movement newspapers that I had sent her. They advised her that this was subversive and to refuse any other deliveries. She stated that she had not received any in years and that they had no right to tell her what she could or could not read. The authorities also visited my mother, inquiring about several handguns that went missing while my brother Ralph was working on the truck docks in Chicago. Both of us were involved in Join at the time. I literally could not find employment in the entire county. However, within a few days of our arrival in Tennessee, my wife did find employment in the Dayton Housing Authority, assisting the director, Wallace Rice, who was the former juvenile judge that was primarily responsible for falsely sentencing many to jail terms. While doing some filing, she discovered a confidential file marked Thurman family, containing FBI information on my brothers and sisters, with specific information about me and my brother Ralph. When she asked Rice about the file, he ignored her. Not being familiar with the politics of a small town, she was very scared for the well-being of our daughter. We started making plans to leave. By coincidence, and within a week of my wife discovering the file, a friend who was close to the local police informed me that the cops were making plans to arrest me. Within a few days, we left Tennessee with just a few belongings and moved to Georgia. We felt like fugitives on the run, yet we had done nothing wrong. In retrospect, it all made sense. J. Edgar Hoover had classified the Black Panther Party as a threat to national security, and the Young Patriots were caught in that net due to their affiliation with the Rainbow Coalition. We were fortunate that we discovered this information before action was taken against us. For many years, I wandered around the South, and on 2 occasions moved back to Chicago. During those years, I got a divorce and decided to stay in Illinois. During that time, I was employed by the Alternative Youth Agency in Chicago as Director of School-Based Services to work with at-risk high school students and on gang intervention. I lived in a northwest suburb and would travel to and from work each day, being very careful not to be in Uptown at night. In 1995, I also volunteered for the Wayside Cross Ministries Homeless Center in Elgin, Illinois. Later, I took up a part-time work organizing computerized learning centers for the men in residency program, as well as for a shelter for battered women and children in Aurora, Illinois. Both alternatives and Wayside were great opportunities for raising awareness for social change. I encouraged the women and the residents to look at alternatives for their life. The major success was many residents learned computer skills and many completed their GED. After my job was completed with Wayside Cross Ministries, I had remarried and entered into the world of retail automotive sales, in which I spent the next 20 years. This was not the career that I wanted, but it was all I could find due to a major slump in the economy. The social services field had been saturated with people with higher educational degrees, including in entry positions. Because most social service agencies had become nonprofits, they had to conform to mandates of their funders, and that left few openings for those with lower education. My Bachelor of Arts university degree was useless. I believe that my involvement in the movement prevented me from being hired for many positions, although I had impeccable qualifications. On February 25, 2014, I applied for a gun owner's permit in Alabama. I was denied due to 2 arrests that should have been expunged. They were a disorderly conduct charge in Chicago when I was 17 and the stolen property charge in Rock Island, Illinois, which was dropped from my record. Both charges were, however, part of a federal record and they appear when I have a background check. After sending requests for affidavits to the city of Chicago and Rock Island County, Illinois, I received affidavits stating that no records existed of my arrests and I was granted a gun owner's permit.
Wow. Wow. That's it. You know what? It's just amazing that some people can go to school and get the degrees that warrant them for a certain job, and they deny that right because really it's based on their race or their income level, and it raises the point which is stated in the new African Black Panther Party 10-point program, as well as the Black Panther 10-point program. We want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches us more true history and our role in the present day society, because we believe in an education system that will give our people a knowledge of self. If a man does not have knowledge of himself and his position in society and the world, then he has little chance to relate to anything else. And this is pretty much, what Thurman has said, that he was qualified, but he was denied an opportunity. This also reflects about, as far as certain books being accepted in the school for certain level of teaching in grade school, but now with the critical race theory, those books are being banned because it will hurt, quote unquote, some people's feelings. And it's just remarkable that everything that's happening now, we're reversing back. We're going back in time instead of going forward. And it's just telling us so much of how our rights, our individual rights, is going to be restricted down to we have no human rights. And that's where it's going, especially with healthcare. You know.
That's something we could feel across the board, and we've talked about extensively. We just can't get away from that topic, right, sister? that specific part of it.
Yeah, you're right. Richard, is there anything you want to include, or is there anything you want to say? Or you Panther Queen? Yeah, but I mean, Brother Thurman, he had presented a whole lot of valuable points that really impact us today. Like you say, across the board, in the movement, with working with other organizations, and which, you know, we have our differences, but it's more of what we can do together to continue with the revolution, and to work within a coalition, and also what we are faced with on the outside, which is pretty much exactly what we was confronted back then. And it's not in comparisons, but it's something that we need to do, where not only we need to mobilize, but we need to think about how can we organize, how can we come together in solidarity and then increase those numbers, not just because of the numbers, but just to fight for what is right. You know, just
Right.
looking at our participants here. Anybody have any other questions or any other suggestions?
Sister,
Right.
I do wanna add something. If are we closing out now?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so as you had mentioned, we typically will do something either we've done like the games and stuff. We don't have one for today, but I still wanted to be able to in this, for the sense of tradition that you have established, because I think you were the first one to do so. And we've had some wonderful gifts that have been given to different people that have attended. So in keeping that going, I would like to gift a copy of the book to our sister Panther Queen, because she did mention that she put it out there that she wanted a copy of the book. So I would like to gift a copy of that book to her. So if we could just exchange information. I did put my email address on there. And if we can just get, where to mail it to, we can, because we get those directly from Brother High. So.
Oh, that would be excellent. That would be excellent. Panther, I don't know if she's on still, but definitely I will put it in the chat group. I think she's in a new African Black Panther group. And also I will match that and get a book for Felix as well, because he mentioned that he wanted to get the revolutionary Hillbilly book. So I definitely want to match that. And I was thinking, there was a couple of things that I was thinking about. Number one, it's great to have an exchange book program going on for those who have one of these legendary books. They can just loan the book. If not, gift one of our comrades with a book to help them expand their library or expand their knowledge as far as the revolution is concerned. Another one is, it would be great if we can come together, like if not twice out of a year, but on an annual basis. And, we can continue with, not only the book social club, but present things that would help our revolution, help our coalition from knowing and becoming familiar with CPR, first aid, things that will help our coalition as we are into action, or we exchange notes, or talking about our legendary greats and how it will help us along our journey. So I think these are some of the things that is good to pass on, and to see that we can bring in the fusion, because it's so important.
Absolutely, sister.
Yeah, so Felix, I know you're not on now, but I would like to give you with the Revolutionary Hillbilly by making a purchase. And also I want to add, I really appreciate Brother Kwame, as well as our honorary Conrad Elderman Hyde, for sharing a life story, for sharing their journey with us to expand, our political education. And by them being on the road, every and any contribution that you can make can help continue the principal tour journey, not only on the East Coast, but on not only on the West Coast, but the mid coast, the Mid East and West Coast. So for those people who have not seen this tour, I'm sure it's an amazing tour, and our comrades will appreciate any contribution that you can help towards them spreading the word and meeting you and hearing what you have to say, and dialoguing with each other and exchanging war stories, conversation, and how we can, continue on or expand further. So I just want to add that in, and I appreciate everybody coming in, peeping in, giving their insight. And Sister Veronica, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We have to keep it going, sis. We couldn't lose momentum on that.
Yes. And as I mentioned, this is the blueprint, what our legendary greats have left for us to continue on and pass on to the next generation. And it's something that, we need to propel and we need to push forward. We cannot just let it go. So we will be faced with tough times in life, but it's the strong teams that last. And by continuing with our book club, I think we are the only one that's doing it. I'm not sure, but in the coalition, it's good to build on this, because there's a lot of books that we're going to read, and we're going to continue with our little games. We have fun doing this, and if you're available on Sunday, we meet at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time. On Friday is 7 Eastern Standard Time, and Monday is 8:00 Eastern Standard Time, which is like 3 hours, like 5:00 Pacific Time. So please come and join us. We love to hear from you. And there's so much that we give away and love to share with you. And with that, on that note, unless anybody wants to join in, Raphael said, I apologize, but he's sick. Okay, well, my brother, you get better. You get brother, Raphael. We look forward to you joining us. Go ahead and get some fennel-seed tea, because that's really good for respiratory illnesses. Panther Queen, I just want to let you know that you got a gift coming to you. And take down Shamarco telephone number. He just put that in. And our sister Veronica want to exchange information with you. I think her phone is dying down again. But if that is it, I'm just going to close out on a count of 5. And if you're ready, and everything else I'm gonna put in our chat group. Then later on, when the video is uploaded, we just gonna go ahead and include all the information that everybody needs. And I got a gift for Felix too. So on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Black power, y'all.
All power to the people.